Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the third episode of this P-51 Mustang tutorial series. In this episode, we will be looking at landings, how to land the P-51 Mustang. Now, over to my left is Kabiledi Airfield. You want to go ahead and land. So before we do this, we're going to have to go ahead and contact the air traffic control and request landing.
Cavalletti, in field, 1-1, inbound. Field 1-1, Cavalletti, fly heading 7848, QFE 29.87, runway 25, to pattern altitude.
Roger that. So we can go ahead and get into what's commonly.
1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower.
Roger that. Thank you. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get into a what they call a landing pattern. So basically, a circuit around the airfield, waiting for our clearance to land. Now, normally, like each airfield and each country or each air force has its own different patterns and stuff like that. But normally in the P-51 Mustang and most other aircraft, this is what I do. This might not be the accurate way to do it. This might not be the only way to do it, but this is how I do it. So I can only tell you what I do. So what I normally do is I normally enter the pattern at around 1,000 feet. In the P-51 Mustang, I try to maintain 150 kilometers an hour to 200 miles an hour, to be rather, actually miles an hour. So I try and maintain 1,000 feet of altitude and 150 to 200 miles an hour. So we're clear to land in runway 25. Runway 25 is basically the runway that is pointing out to the sea. So we'll be landing in this direction that we're flying at the moment. And go ahead and turn. In the P-51 Mustang, once you're below 170 miles an hour, you can lower the landing gear. Once you're below 165 miles an hour, you can go full flaps. So what we will do is I will lower the landing gear right now. There it is. And we can just hear the landing gear coming down and locking. So basically we're in a rectangular pattern around the airfield. Close enough to the airfield that we can land in case of an emergency, and far enough that we are not directly overflying the runway. Now, one thing that you really want to avoid in the P-51 Mustang is radical engine RPM changes at low speed, at low airspeed. Now, you might have just picked it up before. When I decreased the engine RPMs, the nose of the aircraft moved. So you want to avoid that as much as you can. You're going to be very smooth on the throttle. So we're going to be turning around and landing on this airfield, on this runway facing to the ocean. That's runway 25. I prefer not to get any lower than 600 feet in the downwind leg. I don't want to get much slower than the 130 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and make our turn. Now, obviously, this what I did just there isn't a perfect pattern landing pattern, but you kind of get the picture. Go ahead and lower the flaps one notch, and two notches, and three, and four. So basically, we're in the final approach.
Enfield 1-1. Cobra ready. Check landing gear. Wind 179 at 3 meters per second. Runway 25.
Thank you. Go ahead and flare, reduce throttle, and touchdown. And we'll control ourselves with rudder. And again, holding the stick aft of neutral. And we'll go ahead and get off the runway, and we'll shut down the aircraft. Now, guys, if you have any questions with regard to anything about the P-51 Mustang, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Now, I know that this tutorial is a rough guide. It might not be the best guide that you
Taxi to parking area.
copy that. It might not be the most well thought out tutorial, but I've done the best that I could. Now, if some of you might be much more knowledgeable than I am about this aircraft and about DCS, please do let me know if I've made a mistake in these videos. I really appreciate it. I don't mind constructive criticism at all. In fact, I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and taxi off this airfield. Again, while we taxi, we have the stick just aft of neutral to keep the tail wheel locked. When we turn, using the rudder and differential braking. I'm turning right now using a combination of rudder and differential braking. Again, we can do the zigzag action, S turns, so we can see what's in front of us. Now isn't that critical at the moment because we're alone in this map. But if you're playing in a multiplayer environment, you definitely need to do this. Otherwise, you'll run into somebody. Let's go ahead and turn. There we go. Just park the aircraft here. There we go. So we will set the parking brake. And let's do this shutdown procedure. First, let's open the canopy. Let's turn off our wing and tail lights. Bring the throttle all the way back. Flaps up. We'll neutral all the trim settings. We'll turn off our fluorescent instrument lights to the left and the right. So for a full proper engine shutdown, we will do the following. We will set the propeller pitch all the way forward, which it is at the moment. We will idle the engine at 1,500 RPM. We'll turn the fuel booster off. And we'll put the mixture control to idle cutoff. And as soon as the engine RPM reaches 700, we will fully open the throttle. There we go. We'll turn the ignition system off. Everything is being turned off. We'll cut off the fuel, turn off generator, battery, and everything. And then what we will do is we will set the carburetor to unram there. And what we will do is we'll go ahead and pull this. Now this releases the hydraulic pressure in the system. And it's all set. And now we can lock the stick, forward or aft. If you lock the stick forward, it helps with the towing. If the aircraft has to be moved while it's off, it will help with the towing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this third episode of this P-51 Mustang tutorial. I hope you've learned something from it, and I've certainly learned a lot from it. And I do encourage any of you who may know much more about DCS and about P-51 Mustang to correct any mistakes that I've made in the comment section below. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, please subscribe, because I will be doing many more videos like this for DCS. Until then, see ya.